The adverse effects of climate change are already being experienced in Guyana. Since the 1960s, the country has observed increases in temperature, sea level, more intense rainfall, and dry weather. More recently, Guyana suffered from an unprecedented nationwide flooding. This climate event affected over 20,000 farmers and 60% of our GDP. Building systems that protect against climate change and biodiversity loss is key to Guyana's prosperity, and the Low Carbon Development Strategy, LCDS 2030, does exactly this. Specifically, the LCDS will address environmental damage and loss through climate adaptation and resilience. This means building climate-resilient agriculture systems, developing climate risk assessment and insurance, enhancing sea defense, expanding mangrove restoration, strengthening drainage and irrigation systems, and supporting public health adaptation to climate change. Be part of LCDS 2030 and share in the vision of a global model for environmental integrity, one that assures thriving economic and social development, all within a low-carbon pathway.
This is your News Source Evening Bulletin for today, Friday, the 13th of May in the year 2022. I'm Gordon Mosley, and here's what we're tracking tonight. President Irfan Ali and Opposition Leader Aubrey Norton met today for their first meeting on a number of constitutional appointments that have been held up for several months. Today's consultation marked the first meeting between the President and the Opposition Leader since Mr. Norton was elected to the post of Opposition Leader in April. The President had refused to hold any meetings with the previous Opposition Leader, Joe Harmon. Following today's meeting, which lasted for more than 2 hours, the government and the opposition issued a joint statement. In that statement, it was noted that the meeting was called to examine appointments to the Judicial Service Commission, the Police Service Commission, and the Teaching Service Commission. The Constitution requires there be meaningful consultation on the appointment to the various constitutional commissions. The joint statement said after the leader of the opposition requested further information on the persons being considered to be appointed to the commissions, the Minister of Governance, Gil Teixeira, on Thursday provided those names. At today's meeting, the opposition leader clarified that he expected more than just the names of persons under consideration for appointment and would like to see the curriculum vitae for those persons. The President agreed to make the CVs available within 2 days, and the two sides have agreed that the in-person consultations will resume on an agreed date within a week. After the meeting, Opposition Leader Aubrey Norton said his request to see the CVs of those persons being considered for appointment to the constitutional commissions is in keeping with the requirement for there to be meaningful consultations between the President and the Opposition Leader.
I'm saying to you that, first of all, we need CVs. The whole process of meaningful consultation has been defined in law. In fact, in the second aspect of the part, it says clearly that you need time to assess this, etc. So the CVs are needed, and once we get the CVs, we will do what we have to do. That's basically it.
So you're satisfied with the meeting?
Are you satisfied with this meeting, being the first meeting?
I don't know that there's an issue of satisfaction. All I want to see is everything occur in keeping with law, in keeping with the Constitution. I think we have been able to make this point, and moving forward, we will operate in keeping with the Constitution and what meaningful consultation.
The opposition leader was accompanied to today's meeting by APNU AFC Member of Parliament, Senior Counsel Roy Stilford. The President was accompanied by the Attorney General, Senior Counsel Anil Nandlal. More news coming up in just a moment.
How fast is fiber? Think fast. GTT Fiber has 3 packages with download speeds of 50, 100, and 150 megabits per second. That's fast enough to stream movies and music, to chat with Gran and Fran, to study, and more. What would you do? Upgrade to GTT Fiber today and don't get left behind tomorrow.
With the approval of each new oil production project offshore, more jobs and opportunities are created onshore. And not just for those working in the oil and gas sector, more Guyanese are providing support services in transportation, catering, logistics, accommodation and hospitality, among many others. Oil and gas development is fueling Guyana's transformation.
Mobil 1 is more than oil. It's many oils. It transforms at the molecular level. When cold, it's thicker than honey. When hot, it's thinner than water. Mobil 1 adapts and readapts to last longer. 16,000 kilometers between oil changes. That's your engine evolved.
Sol Guyana is the authorized distributor of Mobil lubricants.
Guyana, get ready for the biggest Independence Weekend. Genesis Band and Utopia Launch 2022. 7 exciting events, starting with Touchdown Cool Effect with Patrice Roberts on Wednesday, May 25th. Stinging Nettles, El Dorado Rum Inclusive with Soca Sensation Kess the Band on Thursday, May 26th. Moderation with rising dancehall artists Skang, Chanel Mir, Drew Colvin, Gully Ras, and Kush, as well as Chutney Ray featuring Ravi B, Kenneth Selleck, Vicardi, Tony Cuts, Bonita Willie, and Shakti Strings on Friday, May 27th. Snakes and Dutty Tuve, as well as Eden, a gold and white toga party on Saturday, May 28th, and Soca and Wine on Sunday, May 29th. Are you ready? Are you ready to see the hot costumes for Cricket Carnival that will be displayed at every event? Brought to you by Hits and Jams Entertainment, King Leo Promotion, and the Cricket Carnival Committee. Follow our social media pages at Genesis Band for more details.
Yo, Atlanta is a big bad city vice pushing out the GT. Don't forget the 29th we got Bliss launch. Yeah, Atlanta we say city vice mushy live. You know, so we're gonna do some covers like bye. Must get a ting. Must get a ting. How we out a GT. All of the guys them a wine and shake. The Guyanese woman them a #1. Yo, flashback we say Bliss launch 29th be Atlanta city vice mushy live. Keep my name out.
We've got exciting news! All 12 ounce yellow cab Buster are now only $100. Buster, live in
come
full
get
color.
your Buster $100. Come get your Buster $100.
With the number of staff members being reduced in the past 18 months by more than 300, the Chief Executive Officer of the Guyana Water Incorporated believes that the company is now in a better financial position. At a press conference today, CEO Sheikh Bak said the staff reduction formed part of the company's restructuring plan. Some of the workers were laid off while others retired or moved on to other jobs, according to GWI. The CEO said the plan has resulted in the company now saving millions of dollars in employment costs monthly.
Secondly, the cash flow is, we have a fairly good cash flow position to meet all of our commitments. That is employment cost, which was skyrocketing, but we have been able through the restructuring of GWI, as you know, to reduce the employment numbers. And this has resulted in an annual saving of about $240 million in employment costs. And at the same time, our productivity ratio has gone up.
The GWI Chief Executive Officer said the company is now working with a better cash flow.
As you know, we undertook a review of the staffing structure and the organizational structure, which was completed within a couple of months and was implemented. In August 2020, when the new management took over, the staffing complement was 1,320 employees. And through a process which was consultative with all levels of the employees at GWI, including the top managers, discussions, we were able to identify the new organizational structure, the organization chart for each department and unit. And over the last 18 months, we were able to bring down the employment numbers to just under 1,000. To be precise, 998 as of today's date.
And it was also explained that the company has been able to significantly reduce its debt and employees are now being paid their full benefits. The water company is now examining other areas to cut back on additional costs while trying to improve its productivity and performance. GWI is still trying to get customers to settle their debt. According to the CEO, GWI is currently owed in excess of $3 billion for the supply of water to its customers. Let's tell you now that the Police Office of Professional Responsibility has received 197 complaints so far for this year against various ranks of the Guyana Police Force, and that represents a more than 100% increase in the number of complaints when compared to the same period last year. According to the head of the Police Office of Professional Responsibility, Assistant Superintendent Elston Beard, the increase in complaints by members of the public could be seen as citizens having more confidence that their complaints will be addressed.
For this year, we received so far 197 complaints, as compared to 97 for last year, which tells us that persons are coming in more often and are lodging complaints. Attributed to the fact that they believe they have the confidence that the Office of Professional Responsibility can provide the necessary satisfaction that they're looking for. And so we find a lot of persons coming to the OPR and lodging their complaints.
Mr. Beard explained that among the more prevalent complaints are police neglect, where citizens complain that ranks fail to act promptly on reports, as well as citizens not having confidence in certain ranks investigating certain cases.
We also have complaints, persons, allegations of assault perpetrated against members of the public. Persons would come to the office. So those are some of the prevalent reports that we would have received. But mainly the neglect of duties. Those are the ones that we have that are more prevalent.
The head of the OPR further explained that not all of the complaints received by the OPR warrant investigation. He said many complaints can be avoided if ranks would spend time communicating better with persons when they file reports.
And so I want to encourage our officers to provide feedback. It wouldn't take much if you just call the complainant and let them know, look, here we are, this is the stage we're at with your investigations, and so that they would be much satisfied.
Last year, the Office of Professional Responsibility was bogged down with complaints of police use of excessive force against citizens. While it is not so prevalent this year, Beard explained that such reports are still being received by his office. In the world of business and commerce, Guyana's gold mining industry is expected to see a boost as several international gold mining companies have expressed an interest to kickstart gold mining operations in Guyana. That's according to Senior Minister of Finance in the Office of the President, Dr. Ashni Singh.
And right now, multiple international companies are actively engaged at various stages of development of world-class large-scale gold mining operations in at least three very promising developments across Guyana that could see gold mines, each of which will be bigger than Omai gold mines.
The finance minister said once the operations are on stream, apart from further expanding the non-oil sector, the presence of the new gold mining companies will significantly raise the country's profile.
And these are international investors. Some of them are quoted on international stock exchanges around the world. They're raising capital in the international markets, all to finance large-scale gold mining in Guyana.
Dr. Singh did not identify the potential investors or a timeline for their entry into the market. However, he said once here, the country will see big benefits.
You know how significant Omai was. Contemplate for a moment three large-scale developments, each of which is larger than Omai. Consider for a moment that each one of these will probably be employing more than 1,000 Guyanese persons. Consider the food and other supplies that they will need, the transport services, the construction services, the equipment supply and maintenance services, and all of the multiplier benefits that three large-scale gold mining operations will generate in Guyana.
There are currently two large gold mines active in the Guyana Shield, the Aurora mine operated by Jing Mining and the Karuni mine operated by Troy Resources. In total, the Guyana Shield is estimated to be home to approximately 110 million ounces of gold. 5 members of the Guyana Prison Service have completed training in the United States on responding to prison riots. In a statement, the U.S. Embassy said the training addressed best practices in responding to prison riots, and the entire program was funded by the U.S. Department of State's Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs. The initiative also formed part of the U.S. government's effort to enhance citizen security through the professionalization of the Guyanese law enforcement and criminal justice systems. The embassy said it was pleased to learn that a 5-member team from the Guyana Prison Service have welcomed the training, with the Senior Superintendent of Prisons, Dheeraj Gayandat, stating that the mock prison riot training granted him and his colleagues the know-how about the newest non-lethal technologies, tactics, and best practices within prison settings. While Guyana has not experienced any major prison riots in recent years, the last one resulted in the burning down of most of the Camp Street Jail and the nearby Prison Officers Hall, resulting in the death of 17 prisoners. Guyana continues to face major issues with the overcrowding of the prisons and the problem of drug and weapon smuggling into the jailhouses. The Guyana Elections Commission appears disinterested in the proposal put forward by one of its commissioners, Vincent Alexander, for there to be a biometric requirement for voting. According to Mr. Alexander, who is an APNU AFC nominated commissioner, while there are currently no moves to sanitize the bloated list of electors, he suggested a mechanism to prevent duplicate voting and other forms of illegal voting. Alexander is suggesting a biometric voting system where the fingerprints of voters will be checked and verified before voting. He explained that such a task will not be difficult because the Elections Commission records the fingerprints of registrants to avoid persons from registering more than once. During an online talk show interview, Alexander said his suggestion would provide a more secure and clean voting system.
And in that way, though we will continue to have a bloated list and a challenge as to how we in fact get a clean list, we will have a barrier to those who in the past and in the future may want to perpetuate the crime of multiple voting. So that's the proposition. Let us have a simple mechanism at the place of poll where your fingerprints are checked against those in the database. Once it's your fingerprint in the database, you're clear to vote. If it is not, then you've committed a crime that should be dealt with condignly.
Commissioner Alexander said his suggestion has not found favor with his fellow commissioners from the government side, who have argued that owing to proposed constitutional and legislative changes, his proposal falls outside of the remit of the Elections Commission.
They've refused to be party to any such recommendation. They prefer to stay silent and to let the status quo remain. On the question of the biometric proposition, there has been no discussion, no debate, and therefore no comment from them in that regard.
According to Alexander, he has also proposed a review of the system with specific reference of the conduct of the 2020 elections. He said although there has been an admission that things went wrong with the system during the last elections, moves to find out what went wrong in order to fix it have also received the cold shoulder at the Commission.
The government claims that it wants to do that. And in wanting to do that, they've come with recommendations. But GCOM's review, which is critical to pinpointing where the problems are, has not been a part of the process of determining what changes are needed. That has not been a part of the process.
According to the GCOM Commissioner, there has been a commitment to discuss the cracks in the system after local government elections are held. But he said that will defeat the purpose, since any review should be done before another election takes place.
Yo, Atlanta is a big bad city vice pushing out the GT. Don't forget the 29th we got Bliss launch. Yeah, Atlanta we say city vice mushy live, you know, so we're gonna do some covers like bye. Must get a ting, must get a ting. How we out a GT. All of the girls them a wine and shake them. Guyanese woman them a #1. Yo, flashback we say Bliss launch 29th of Atlanta city vice mushy live. Keep my name out your mouth.
Have you heard the news?
The CPL is back.
Done! Yes!
The finals coming to Guyana.
Absolutely brilliant.
It's going to be a carnival of cricket.
It's going to be a carnival of cricket.
It's going to be a carnival of cricket.
See you there.
Tell it to your enemy and tell it to your friend. Watch Guyanese girl, them a hurtle, and them a do it in a circle. Watch me, missing each and every year. Flashback come again. Tell it to your enemy and tell it to your friend. Well, if you're ready for the party, yeah then. Flashback, tell them a the trend. Follow me sing. This are not talking about a fly nor no bees. No girl can whine like Guyanese. Watch the young them a do it in a circle. Guyanese girls them a dance in a circle. Hear me and say no, me go banter. You know I sound boy killer represent the Golden Smile family. You know say flashback old school party. You know say oh the vibes is plenty. Slow down.
We've got exciting news! All 12-ounce yellow cab Buster are now only $100. Buster, live in
Come
full
get
color.
your Buster, $100. Come get your Buster, $100.
Fuel it up and drive, super 95. Tune up, fuel it up and drive, super 95. Tune up, protect your fuel system, boy. High mileage and performance, boy.
Guy Oil's Super 95 gasoline gives you more reasons to drive and is available at 56 service stations nationwide. For affordable price, high performance, and high mileage, choose Guy Oil's Super 95 gasoline.
Fuel it up and drive.
Across the region tonight, the Jamaican government is dismissing a claim by the under-pressure Commonwealth Secretary General Baroness Patricia Scotland that there is no vacancy and that the Jamaican Foreign Affairs Minister, Kamina Johnson-Smith, should end her bid for the top Commonwealth post. The Office of the Prime Minister in Jamaica is arguing that Scotland is on an extended first term since COVID-19 prevented Commonwealth leaders from meeting in 2020 to decide whether she should get another term. In a statement, the Office of the Prime Minister said Baroness Scotland accepted the terms of that offer of an extension of her first contract in writing, also acknowledging that a decision on the next term of office would be decided at a time when member states can meet face-to-face. The government of Jamaica said the period of extension accepted by the Secretary General clearly did not constitute appointment for a second term, which was already rejected by the heads. Johnson-Smith has rejected a call from Scotland to withdraw her candidacy, which was announced in April. The Jamaican government says that will never happen. In a recent interview, Dominica born Scotland said she would be pleased if the Jamaican foreign minister steps down from her candidacy for the position. Leaders of the 54-member Commonwealth will decide on the executive head at a meeting in June. At least 11 people drowned when a vessel carrying Haitian migrants capsized near Puerto Rico, the U.S. Coast Guard has announced. It was amid a steady increase in migrants attempting to reach U.S. shores in dangerous marine voyages. The vessel, which was carrying an undetermined number of people, was spotted 10 nautical miles north of Puerto Rico. As of 6 p.m., 11 dead persons and 31 survivors had been found, the Coast Guard said on Twitter. They said there was a fast response from Sector San Juan, and that's unseen, and the Coast Guard helicopters also provided support. The survivors have been taken to Puerto Rico, with 8 of them being treated at the local hospital. Migrants, particularly from Haiti, have in recent months been attempting to escape gang violence and poverty through dangerous voyages on unseaworthy vessels. And finally tonight, international news. The Reuters news agency reports that British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has ordered ministers to slash 91,000 civil service jobs to free up billions for tax cuts. Johnson used a cost of living cabinet meeting in the Midlands on Wednesday to order his top team to redouble their efforts to ease the financial pressure on struggling families. They were given 1 month to come up with plans to cut the size of the civil service by almost a fifth of the current total, which would save about £3.5 billion. Johnson was quoted as saying that every pound the government preempts from the taxpayer is money that they can spend on their own priorities and their own lives. The Prime Minister also remains convinced of the need for more officials to get back into the workplace. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight and this week. I'm Gordon Mosley, reporting and encouraging you to be safe.